Well, good Friday morning. Glad you joined us here for the last morning of the week and literally the last study or the last devotional here in Colossians. We've been talking about the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth as revealed in the book of Colossians. We've seen a lot of different truths about our own actions and behavior and attitudes, as well as the truth about who Christ is, the truth about our conversion, a lot of different things we've looked at. The truth about remembering who we are and where we're going. And this morning we're going to close out the book of Colossians, talking about that third thing that he's talked about, and the truth about our practical life. We looked at the truth about our personal life, in our family relationships and work, the truth about our prayer life that we looked at yesterday. And this morning I want to close out by looking at the truth about our public life. We have a personal life that very few people know about sometimes, just our families, sometimes just our spouses, sometimes just us and the Lord. But then we have a public life. We're among people, whether it be at church or at our work or in the neighborhood, in our circle of friends, we're in public. And so Paul doesn't leave us to wonder, well, I wonder how I ought to act practically when I'm out in public. And this goes beyond, where we are now. Well, be sure and carry your mask with you and all that kind of stuff. Socially distance and that kind of, no. What he's talking about here is how we appear to other people and whether it does harm or good to them. And so what he says in verse 5, after he's asked for prayer, in verse 5 of Colossians chapter 4, listen to what he says. Be wise in the way you act toward outsiders and make the most of every opportunity. And then in verse 6, let your conversation be always full of grace, seasoned with salt, so that you may know how to answer everyone. Wow. One of the scariest things to me in my life is that somebody is watching me and listening to me, not when I'm in the pulpit, but when I'm in the line at the grocery store, or when I'm pumping gas, or when I'm at an event of some kind. That without me knowing it, somebody may be watching me, and what they think about Jesus Christ is going to be influenced by what they see me doing and hear me saying and the attitude of my heart and my life. And that scares me to death. And that's why Paul would say, be wise in your behavior around others outside the church. Been times when I've been in a traffic situation and somebody comes around me and cuts me off, and it just makes me so mad. And I look there and they've got a bumper sticker on it that says, follow me to such and such church. And I don't want to follow you to any church if that's the way you act. And then I think, I can't remember, do I have a bumper sticker on the back of mine? Yeah, he says, be wise in your behavior around others outside of the church. That old saying is really true. You may be the only Bible someone else ever reads. You may be the only Jesus someone ever sees. And do you know what? I believe that the majority of people who have rejected Jesus Christ have not rejected the person of Jesus Christ, but rather they've rejected a caricature of Jesus Christ that they see in many of us. That's why Paul begs us in our public life, be wise in your behavior around others outside of the church. Be wise in the way you act toward outsiders. And then the second thing he says is be sensitive to those opportunities God gives you. So many times that God gives us a chance to do something, to say something, to help someone, to drop a witness here, or to drop a word there. I was in a store this last week, and there was a lady blocking the doorway to the men's room, and she had one of those mobile wheelchairs there in front of me. It was blocking everything, and I really needed to go. And I thought, oh no, I'm going to have to wait. I'm going to have to wait. How long will I have to wait? Finally, she motioned for me to come on by. And when I got in there, there was an old gentleman, a black gentleman, and he was struggling. And all that I had thought, I'm being put out, I'm being irritated, disappeared. And I asked him, I said, is there any way I can help you? Do you need any help? I said, take my arm and I'll help you. And those kind of opportunities go by so often, and we don't even try to take advantage of them. And he says, make the most of every opportunity. When the lady at the cashier says, have a good day, and you turn and say, well, you have a blessed day too. You don't know what she's been going through, and you don't know how your opportunity to share a blessing, a pleasant look, a laugh with somebody who's going through something nobody else knows about. You have no idea what that could mean to them. So he says, be sensitive to those opportunities. Be wise in the way you act toward outsiders, and make the most of every opportunity. And then the last thing he says along that same line is, be careful with your words and your demeanor. He says in verse 6, let your conversation be always full of grace. I wish mine was. I want it to be. That everything I say, everything that comes out of my lips. James said it a little more harshly than this. He said sometimes just shut up. Don't say anything. Because the tongue will get you into trouble. But Paul is a little more gentle. He says, let your conversation be always full of grace. And that means not judgment, not harshness, but full of grace, seasoned with salt. In other words, create a little bit of thirst. You know that old saying, you can drive a horse or lead a horse to water, but you can't make him drink. You can if you give him a little salt. If you make it a little salty, he'll want to drink. Well, the same is true when we're the salt of the earth, when we're the light of the world and the salt of the earth. It creates a little thirst that when Jesus said to the woman, if you had known who would ask you, would ask me, and I would give you something to drink. Well, seasoned with salt, creating a thirst, an interest. And the only way you're going to do that, he says, is let your conversation, everything that proceeds out of your mouth, be filled with grace, not rebuke and not judgment and not harshness, and certainly not filthy language, so that you may know how to answer everyone. If you're harsh with people, very few people are going to ask you to tell them how to come to know Christ. But if you're sweet with folks, full of grace, seasoned with salt, creating thirst, somebody somewhere is going to say, what's different about you? And the scary thing is anybody seeing any difference? Well, listen, this has been a fun week for me, and I hope it has been for you, and a fun study through the book of Colossians. Don't know what we'll do on Monday next week, but we'll get to something. Thank you for just hanging in there through this week. It's been kind of scattered, but thank you for hanging in. And we'll see you next Monday morning. God bless you. Have a great weekend wherever you are this week.